Um, I'm Michelle. I'm the owner and founder, or one of those things, of Ceiling Unlimited Health Coaching. And this tonight is the info night for how to be a beginner again. So I'm going to try to respect your time, but get through some information about who the heck I am, why I decided to create this class, what the content is. We'll do a little activity that'll give you a taste of the content, and then we can get to some of the finer details. So I wear a few hats. As a health coach, I kind of have the opportunity, or I take the opportunity, to observe things that are going on around me, try to come up with a response to them, and then create a class, which can be really fun. So I get to respond to needs and see what happens. I've also been a running coach for 9 or 10 years. And so that, and specifically with beginners. So that's given me a lot of passion for that beginner experience, as well as a lot of time observing beginners. And then I've also now been, this is crazy to me, a massage therapist for 20 years. And that might seem like the most distant thing, but what it probably has given me is an opportunity to be present to people and holding space for people who are in some kind of transition. That does not make me a therapist, and I certainly am not leading a support group. But you would imagine there's a lot of conversations that take place over 20 years of people lying face down on the table. So out of all of that and a lot of influences came the idea for this class. It seems to me that following COVID, a lot of us are beginning again in some way. We might just feel like we're stumbling through social interactions with people, or we might have gotten tossed off of routines that we had before, or plans that we had, and we're having a little bit of a hard time getting back to them again. And so I was kind of seeing this need for a little bit of support around beginnings. And then, like I mentioned, I hang out with beginner runners so often that it occurred to me that there's a set of skills that beginner runners gain in a class, like, a Couch to 5K kind of situation, that is specific to running, but also translates really well into being another kind of beginner, all kinds of other beginners. Every now and then that analogy does break down, but I do think that there are skills that are transferable between being one kind of beginner and being another kind of beginner, and I wanted to share those. And then, critically, I just hearing so much need for community, especially among women at midlife, that it just seemed like creating a class around this was the right thing to do. With all that said, the intent of this class is not to give you a particularly specific set of skills for your specific experience of beginnerness. It's more, like I said, I want to give you a set of skills that will apply to being a beginner at any time of life. So that you can walk away from this class and be like, ready to go into all kinds of different beginnerness. Because as I was chatting with people, kind of doing my market research for this class, what became abundantly obvious, and we all know this, but I was lucky to be able to ask this question over and over again, is that we can be beginners no matter what age or stage we're at. Everybody nods in agreement, right? And so by way of example, like I spoke to one 60-year-old who is coping with an aging parent, and she's suddenly having to, figure out care and estate questions and dealing with siblings, right? And then I spoke to one 40-something who is abruptly the parent of a stinky boy teenager. And she's trying to figure out what to do about that. Valerie, that's funny. And then I'll just toss my own hat in there. Like, I'm in my mid-40s and I'm dating for the first time. Don't like this kind of beginnerness, but it is what it is. Right? So you can see like we're beginners at all different times of our lives in all different ways. We might arrive at beginnerness by choice, right? Like, I guess I'm choosing to head into the dating world. It could be by fate. Like, we might find out that we have some medical thing that now we've got to cope with, right? We're beginners at that. Or it could be by circumstance, as in, like, here's this aging parent, or here's this boy getting older, right? And so how you arrive at that beginnerness might influence how you feel about it. Is it fun? Is it challenging? Is it awful? Right? So all kinds of beginnerness, all kinds of reactions to it. But here's the thing. Sometimes, and seemingly often, we arrive at this beginnerness and then feel like we have to be experts at it already, right? And I think you can agree, like a beginner is somebody who has just started learning how to do something and therefore does not do it very well yet, right? And if we were to look at, if we know other beginners in our lives who are dealing with those circumstances, we probably actually do know people dealing with the circumstances, we would give them so much grace and compassion for being at that stage. But when it's us, we're not very good at that, right? Like we don't, instead of like recognizing and sort of greeting our beginnerness, we end up in this space of like shame and fear. We're already supposed to know all of it already somehow. We're supposed to be good at it already. And then that kind of tends us to lead us into this space of isolation. Not super productive, right? Lonely, crappy. So, but like I said, the examples that I gave, like dating at 40, stinky teenager, aging parents, like we all know that these are really common experiences. Like I said, like probably the three of us could name people who are going through those circumstances right now, and like Valerie, I think you're going through two of them, right? So they're common experiences, which says to me, we are already not alone, but we need to kind of get together to figure that out, So, so with that said, the intention in this class isn't to be like I mentioned, it's not a support group. And there aren't really these kind of super granular support groups. Like there might be support for dealing with aging parents, but like I doubt that there's a support group for like stinky teenagers, or parents of stinky teenagers, right? So what, instead what this group is more is sort of an inquiry group or a skills group or an action group. So like I said, that you emerge with these skills that you can use going forward. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions? Okay, so I want to give you guys a little taste of what this class is going to be like. So we'll do this little activity. I have a few questions for you. And so if you want to grab your pencil and paper, so there's four-ish questions here, and I'm going to give you like a limited amount of time to finish to answer them so that we're not here for forever. So the first one, what I would like you to do is list some of the ways that you're a beginner right now, whether that's by choice, by fate, or even ways that you might want to be a beginner. And I'm going to give you about 90 seconds. When's thinking, searching for a word, maybe. All right, I'll give you about 15 more. Are you done, Gwen, or I'll give you a couple more seconds if you need it? All good. Okay. Okay. So, and now what I'd like you to do with that list is pick one of those things, maybe the most compelling one, for whatever reason, whatever's calling to you, and answer this. This is kind of a two-part question. I'll repeat it a couple times. What is the outcome, the ideal outcome of learning and growing as that kind of beginner? And so when you are no longer a beginner at that thing, what will you have gained or learned? you want to hear that again?
No, I got it.
Okay. All good. Okay. All right. I'll give you another 90 seconds or so.
We're just picking one thing, right, from the
Yeah.
list. Okay.
Yep. Pick one of the, kind of the most compelling thing on the list, the one that's calling your name. Okay, give you guys another 15 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Okay, all set?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then third question. What is a first easy step you could take down that path, either today or tomorrow, to move from, take some steps into beginnerness or through beginnerness? Right, 10 seconds or so. Okay. Gwen, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So are either of you willing to share what popped up as like, I'm curious to hear like what your focused beginnerness was. Gwen's like, oh God, I knew she was gonna.
Okay. I'm willing.
Okay.
Um,
So I'm curious, which of your beginnernesses stood out? What was the one that kind of called your name?
program consistency.
Oh, okay. Okay. And what was it helpful to give some devoted attention to that idea?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. I have to. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. Sometimes directed attention is really helpful.
Right.
Okay.
And it has to be me. I mean, no one else here is gonna, give me, I have to do it. I have
Mhm.
to make it a priority. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so that's the thing. So, what was your one easy step?
Wake up. Well,
I feel like that starts most days. Yeah.
Eat breakfast and go to the gym, go to Larkspur or Juniper for what they have to offer.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of sticking to a schedule.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Valerie, are you up for sharing?
Yeah, just the one I picked to write about.
Sure.
I picked that I'm new at menopause.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the kind of second part I picked for like kind of a goal or outcome was like just figuring out and being healthy through the rest of my life and feeling confident in my body and energy levels and recovery and just feeling, figuring out kind of how to adjust to still feel good and healthy. And like I said, I'll feel like I have energy. And one easy step I could do is I'm in the middle of the Stacy Sims Menopause 2.0 course that I bought, but I keep getting kind of stalled out, so I can continue with that maybe tomorrow on my lunch break, continue watching one of the lessons and just stay on track with that so I can learn more and
Yeah,
more
May
educated.
I ask a question?
of course.
Stacy Sims, SIMS.
Yes, go look her
How
up.
many lessons are contained in the program packet?
Well, so it's actually Stacy Sims. I think it's SIMMS. It's two M's, but and then she wrote a book called. She has a couple books, but one's called Next Level. This session, so this webinar has
A webinar, okay.
yeah, it's like kind of long. It was like weekly programs, but some of the videos are quite long. So like for example, I'm still in week 3 and there's several videos. There's probably like 7
or 8. Okay.
10 to 25 minute video. So it's kind of a commitment, but
Just
I
wondered.
started it and I started and I got stalled out in the middle. So I need to just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Gwen, I've probably quoted Stacy Sims to you guys a few times because she is kind of the leading expert on like menopause and athleticism. And she is a devoted evidence-based human being, which I love. So
Good.
she's a good person. Yeah.
And sorry, I just looked at the book and there is only one M. So it's
There's one M.
Oh, okay. No worries.
We'll get it sorted. So, okay, great. So I'm glad I know we had talked about that program in Stacy Sims in the past, Valerie. So it's nice that there's you followed up on it. Yeah. Okay. So last question. If you had a magic wand that you could wave, what kind of support would you have to be helpful, or would you find helpful to move through this particular beginnerness? And that can be people, places, things, time, money, any of that. So I'll give you again, like a minute or so to write that down.
You gave me my answer, and that's just people, community. I mean, you know, I mean, you've been there with us, and how motivating it is,
right,
to involve another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I wrote that too. Of course, I did write like expert resources and people.
People, good.
All of that.
I wrote community too, just in shared experiences. There was actually a New York Times article, I think last week, that one of my friends brought up about how menopause is finally like women didn't even talk about it with each other for a long time. And now it's like, besides there being more research being done, which is not, very much needed, it's also that now it's becoming a less taboo, thing for people to talk about and just share. Like I have other people going through this, whole hot flash thing and hormone therapy, and it's really helpful to just share experiences. So same thing.
Yeah, I saw that article. There was also, and you probably saw there was also one about like, we have solutions for women in menopause who are dealing with hot flashes. Like, why are we not talking more openly and vigorously about hormone therapy, So yeah. Okay. So thank you for leading me directly to my next point. That's great. So in my conversations with all of these other women as well, so many people came back with community as the support that they really wanted. And it like I said, it didn't really matter to them like that they were exactly the same kind of beginner. It was more just having company on the path, right? And, Gwen, I know I don't need to convince you of this at all, but because in our last several training groups, Valerie, like we've had people who are in all different phases doing all kinds of different things. There's a lot of 45-year-olds dealing with like, perimenopause symptoms, and then like Gwen, who's learning how to be retired, so I think there's, the class is deliberately a group and deliberately a diverse group because I think we gain a lot of wisdom from that. And so, you know, it's both diversity of beginnerness, diversity of other kinds of experience, and diversity of ages.
Good.
Okay, so this is kind of getting me into class structure stuff, so we'll head there. So at the moment, I'm putting this on the calendar as Thursday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. starting March 9th. If the group is tiny and we can agree that there's some other time that works well for all of us, I don't have a problem with changing that. I just needed to like put an anchor on a calendar somewhere. We will be meeting in Tumalo in my studio. That's where I am today. So this is, I think you guys both know, this is a little outbuilding on my property. The beauty of it is that it's proximal to sagebrush, juniper, and the Deschutes River out this back wall here. So we'll be using that as an opportunity to, you know, get out and walk or sit pretty much every time that we meet, both so that we have an opportunity to really integrate like the outdoors as part of our experience as beginners. Like, whoa, I'm frantic about this thing. I'm going to go outdoors because I know this is going to make me feel better. That was another commonality in a lot of, that came up for a lot of women. And then there's also this kind of like abundant metaphor of like the outdoors in spring to all of us beginners. And so we'll be leaning on that a little bit as well. I will probably always have tea available. I'll try to always have snacks. And then kind of on a weekly basis, we'd be meeting in the studio, we'll check in. There'll be an organizing question or idea every week that we'll kind of center around that and discuss that. At some point, I'll kick you out to go walk or sit either in pairs or solo, kind of depending on the day. We'll reconvene for a little bit more discussion. We'll talk a bit about whether people need any accountability or support over the next week or so. And then we'll drink some more tea, probably laugh at some bad jokes, and then I'll send you home. Other components, I'm gonna try to figure out, this might be challenging, something that we can all be beginners at for like the sake of science. We'll have one adventure where we like go do a thing that none of us have done before, including me. So I think that'll be really fun. I don't know what it'll be yet.
We had an axe throwing party at Unofficial Logging for our work kind of post-holiday party with the larger group, you know, board members and other. And pretty much like most people have never done that before.
Have never thrown axes. Imagine that. Yeah, so like something like that, or I don't know. I mean, we may have to come up with like a list and see how it works, but I think it could be really fun. So okay, so for that, and then the other piece of this too is I don't want to load you guys up with a ton of like homework over the course of the week. I feel like we all have enough to do. The thing that I am going to ask you to do is what I call bullet journaling. Apparently it's not what everyone calls bullet journaling, but this is what I mean by that. That on a pretty much daily basis that you would write a sentence or two about how you interacted with your beginnerness that day. Like, did it move forward? What steps did you take? Like, what are you thinking about it? So just a sentence or two. What I want from that is that it gives you an opportunity to reflect daily, but also look back over the course of a week or a month or 2 months by the end of the class and see what kind of progress you made. That tends to be pretty motivating for people. One thing I will say though is, as with any good plan to show up for about 80% of that. Like we really damage ourselves and we're like, I have to do it every single day. Like if you were to pull that off 5 out of 7 days of the week, it would be fine. So you can get a B- in this class. It's fine. So, okay. So that's kind of the structure. Questions about that?
I have a question. Is this ongoing or is it a set number of sessions? I guess that's my question number one. And because the second question for me is that I am really interested and love to participate, but I happen to have like a week trip in March and then like a 3-week trip in April. So might not be the best like.
Okay. Yeah. The timing could be challenging. Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be an 8-week class. So discrete beginning, ending. I think that means that the last week is like the last Thursday of April. I have been debating about whether there could be like a way to participate online with this if you were out of town or something, or like, could I record in some way or like be sending you the material? But anyway, we could talk a bit and see if we can come up with something that would feel satisfying.
Are you out of town for fun or out of town for work?
For fun.
Okay,
Hmm.
Happy
Yeah,
to
I
hear
just
that.
that's important.
I
That's
have
important.
a couple big trips coming up, but I could also, like I said, if you're gonna do in session afterwards, like next session, it might, since I'm gonna be probably gone 4 of the 8 weeks, it might be better to do like the next time, because it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Okay.
When is
okay.
it slated to start? 3/6? When did you say 3/9?
3/9.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so last little couple bits here. So one thing I feel compelled to explain this, even though I think it sounds like very coach speak, that it's important to me that that like the content of this class is really grounded in health coaching sort of best practices, by which I mean, evidence-based science articles, whatever else. And so what that means for me as a health coach coming out of the program that I went through at Duke University is that I'm going to be grounding your intention setting and your goal setting in kind of explorations of things like your vision, your values, your strengths. We'll, kind of discern your needs. We'll send you out to take action and then come back and reflect about it. And then, I and the group will be providing support and accountability. And so those things together are what, science tells us makes us successful at achieving intentions. So that's a lot of where that's coming from. And then also, we'll be talking a bit about behavior change science, meaning like, how do we make change? And then I love motivation science. That's actually the thing that got me into coaching, meaning like, how do we sustain change, And then also we'll be talking quite a bit about like beginner mindset or growth mindset, because those are actually things that we can indeed practice. And I think it's useful to hear that information. So that's what the bulk of the class will come out of. I won't be, despite being a massage therapist, I am not a super woo-woo person. So yeah. Okay. Last technical bit of things. The cost for the class is going to be $400 for 8 weeks. You can pay that in a lump sum or in 2 payments. Either one is fine with me. Because you guys are here and awesome, I'm going to I'll email you a code, an early bird code that'll give you $50 off the class if you register by this coming Sunday, the 19th, which means, Valerie, we should figure you out sooner than later so we can sort through if this is your class or not. Mm-hmm. And what I would ask you to think about in terms of the value of the class is, what would be the value of achieving that ideal outcome that we talked about earlier? When you're thinking about your beginnerness, like, what is, here you are being a beginner at menopause, like, what is your ideal outcome and what is the value of achieving that? And Gwen, when you finally get to the place of program consistency throughout your entire life because of this class, what would that be?
Value of the outcome. Okay.
Yeah. And so, as well as gaining these skills that we've talked about and having the community around you.
Okay.
I think, you can compare this to like working with a personal trainer or being in a training group or individual coaching. And that's one of the great benefits of having the group, is that it keeps the cost a little bit lower for everybody.
Yes.
Plus,
yes.
We're all wise and we can all learn from each other. So, okay. That's most of what I've got. Do you guys have any more questions?
Not right now. I think it
I
sounds
don't.
great.
I don't either. I don't have any
cool.
more questions.
All right. And I know, Gwen, we need to talk about Glacier.
We need to, we're gonna stay on unrecorded, please.
Yes, we will unrecord. And all right, so cool. So thanks for joining me, you guys. Valerie, it's super good to see you. Let's chat. Like,
nice
soon.
to meet you, Valerie.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. And if you guys know, Gwen, I know you do. Valerie, you might know some folks who would maybe benefit from this. Like, either send them my way or feel free to forward them an email or something or other. I would love to have a solid group of folks